you can even watch back. Giving players all the props or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk facts.
We're giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
Play it on the car ride, play it when you lounge. X and O, you know that we can hold it down. Shout out to my man Sammy, got it off the ground. And to all the listeners tuned in right now, got debates, analysis, and speculation. This is sports talk for the new generation. You know where to find us, got a reputation. Sick Podcast, your #1 sports destination.
Giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
S-I-C-K is the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk back. S-I-C-K,
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 S-I-C-K.
All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
S-I-C-K is the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk facts.
We're giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
Play it on the car ride, play it when you lounge. X and O, you know that we can hold it down. Shout out to my man Sammy, got it off the ground. And to all the listeners tuned in right now, got debates, analysis, and speculation. This is sports talk for the new generation. You know where to find us, got a reputation. Sick Podcast, your #1 sports destination.
Giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
S-I-C-K is the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk back. S-I-C-K,
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 S-I-C-K.
Turn up your volume. Because you're about to listen to The Sick Podcast. The Eye Test with Pierre McGuire and Jimmy Murphy.
The Stanley Cup winning Colorado Avalanche. And after 22 years,
The sickest NHL podcast. Brought to you by TCS Customs and Logistics. Moving pieces, delivering peace of mind. It's gonna be sick.
And welcome to another edition of the Eye Test here on the Sick Podcast Network. I'm your host, Jimmy Murphy. He's my co-host, Pierre McGuire, joining me here. Pierre, before we get into it, you've had a long day, haven't you?
Yeah, it's been an interesting day. Started at the rink bright and early this morning. Very spirited practice, and spent a good chunk of the day at the dentists at the dental clinics. Really want to say grateful to Donnie, DelNegro, Dr. Riley, and everybody at Riley Dentistry. Donnie's a former trainer of the Boston Bruins, and Dr. Riley does a lot of the dental work for the Bruins, and they took care of my son today, who needed 4 root canals and some pretty good facial work to get ready for practice that starts tomorrow, bright and early.
Well, he will look great by the time he gets to development camp, right?
He'll be ready. Yeah.
There we go. There we go.
But again, I can't stress enough how grateful I am to Donnie, DelNegro, and to the Bruins doctor. Really, that was great. And I had a chance to run into Coach Montgomery today.
That's what you told me. How's he doing?
He's doing great.
That's good.
Hello to you, Jimmy. He's doing fantastic.
That's great. Jim Montgomery. Of course, Donnie DelNegro, for those that don't know, just a legend in the business, Pierre. I mean, you've known him longer than me, but I got to know him quite a bit covering the Bruins, and he's just a class act, just a great guy, always takes time to see how you're doing, not just about hockey, just about life. And I always love that about him. And that doesn't surprise me that he stepped up for you today.
One of the great privileges I had over the last few years was I got a call from Donnie saying somebody from the Trainers Hall of Fame is going to be reaching out to you. And that's all he said. So I got the call, and they said, would you speak on behalf of Donnie and introduce him for his Hall of Fame induction? I said, really? And they're like, yep. And I said, oh my gosh, what a pleasure. So we did that last year out in Scottsdale, Arizona, right after the Stanley Cup Final was over. So Donnie was actually inducted into the Trainers Hall of Fame last year. What a career. What an amazing career. Just unbelievable.
Really, it really was. And I remember when they honored him at TD Garden, just the ovation he got, and the way the team came out and hugged him and just showed the respect that so many had for him. So that's great that he was able to help you today, Pierre, and we wish Ryan the best. And who's going to need some good luck tonight, Pierre? We're going to tee it up here. Game 5, Florida Panthers, Edmonton Oilers. The Oilers are going to need some luck. They're going to need some good trainers, I think, to get them through and hopefully through to a Game 6. And before we get to that, I want to talk about our new sponsor, where you can go and bet on this Game 5 tonight. All sorts of bets over there, whether it's betting on the game itself, on props. We'll go through it. I'll give my picks at the end of the show here. But Betway is on board with the Eye Test now, and we're psyched to have them because they are the leading global online betting and gaming brand. Follow your gut instinct. Go with Betway. Go on Betway.com or scan that QR code right in front of you to join the action. You must be 18 plus and play responsibly. So we'll get to my picks later on, Pierre, but let's look at this game right now. I mean, we were talking about yesterday, Pierre. Remember how we were saying that the NBA final and the hockey final are kind of mirroring each other? And, we had a feeling that maybe that kind of punch to the gut that the Celtics got on in Game 4 on Friday in Dallas would sort of wake them up, and they might answer that with the same type of win over Dallas in Game 5 and clinch the championship. And that's exactly what they did. Congratulations to Boston Celtics on their 18th NBA championship. I mean, by the way, Pierre, if we're going to rank teams in terms of, the Yankees, the Montreal Canadiens, the Boston Celtics, the New England Patriots in football, I mean, it's hard. It's hard when you think about it. But I just look back to the Yankees. What is it? Is it 24 that they have?
No, Montreal's 24.
Montreal's 24. Yeah, I forget what the Yankees have. We'll look it up. But it's amazing. Like I was thinking when I was watching that celebration last night, and I'm just thinking about all the different championships they had. And then I started thinking about hockey too, and the Canadians. And I started looking at pictures of the Canadians in the 70s, thinking of you who got to watch that growing up.
Mm-hmm.
But it's pretty amazing when you see an organization in any sport have that success.
You know the one guy that doesn't. There's a couple that don't get talked about. And
27 for the Yankees, by the way. Thanks, Sammy.
Yeah. But you know what's interesting is nobody talks about Jack Nicklaus.
That's right.
How many championships Jack Nicklaus won?
Oh, in golf, yeah.
Yeah, in golf.
Yeah.
And nobody talks about Roger Federer.
Yeah.
You know, I'm just talking. We celebrate these great professional teams that have been amazing, and you're right on. But you look at the level of
individual athletes,
Roger Federer and Jack Nicklaus, it's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
You know, I know Tiger was making a push to get. He's not going to catch Mr. Nicklaus, but just amazing. You know, you think about it, it's unbelievable, really.
Yeah. Yeah. Interesting stuff. But yeah, you know, and it kind of, the series have kind of been paralleling each other. So tonight, I wonder, is that what we're going to see from Florida? But in order to avoid that, to make this a game and not just, you know, right from the get-go, you know, it's in the bag where you kind of had that feeling throughout last night. What do the Oilers have to do, Pierre, to get off to a good start?
They need to play the same way they played the first 10 minutes of game 4.
Mm-hmm.
They dictated the terms in the first 10 minutes of that game, and it really, I think it took Florida right out of the game. I know Florida got a goal to make it 2-1, but then it just, you know, it disappeared after that. That's how I would play it. You know, the one thing Connor McDavid said that I thought was good, we're going to try to work to drag them back.
Right.
I did not know that he had said that until obviously the middle part of today.
Yeah.
I thought about what I would say, and I always think about this different times, you know, with different teams. What would you say if you were put up? And the thing I would say is we made them uncomfortable in game 4. It's the first time we made them uncomfortable.
Yep.
Let's make them real uncomfortable in game 5 and see how comfortable they get in game 6.
Yeah.
Because if you make them uncomfortable tonight, Florida, that is, game 6, they're not going to be comfortable at all. So you know you're forcing a 7.
Yeah, I'm with you. If the Oilers win tonight, this thing's coming back here for game 7 to Florida.
Yeah, for sure. So that's what I'm saying. So I think the message, we made them uncomfortable in 4. Let's make them real uncomfortable in 5.
Yeah.
Let's make them real uncomfortable.
I'm with you there too. And by the way, speaking of making your opponent uncomfortable, Lomberg is in for the Panthers tonight.
Yeah.
He's going to, you know, it's funny. I don't know if I saw a couple media guys on Twitter just saying they're going to make, because you know him, man. He's just a ball of energy, a ball of hate, you know, and you got a player like that, Pierre, who you know is going to come bursting out of a cannon, so to speak, the way he plays, and he's going to be so pumped to get back in there. As a coach, what are you telling him before the game to kind of, you don't want him to lose that energy, but at the same time, you don't want it to backfire on him. How do you balance that?
This is one where the head coach shouldn't have much to say. You defer to your assistant.
Mm-hmm.
So whether it's Tuomo Ruutu, whether it's Jamie Kompon, you defer to one of those two guys who work with the forwards. And it's probably going to be Tuomo because he's played in those situations.
Right.
And you say, look, this is a great opportunity. But you got to play whistle to whistle. You can't go over the line. You can get to the line. You can't go over the line. And no penalties in the offensive zone.
Mm-hmm.
Make it simple. Not like 25,000 words. Make it like 2 sentences.
Short and sweet.
Just make them understand. And Tuomo can say, look, when I played for Chicago or when I played for Carolina, whatever, this is what I do. Process it just like you.
Yep.
But don't make it convoluted or crazy, because then he'll freeze. He'll freeze in the moment.
Right. Did you have a player when you were with the Penguins like that you kind of had to reel in sometimes?
Yeah. He wore number 5. Oh.
Good old Alfie. Yeah.
I'll tell you one thing, though, was delight. Just a delight to be around. I know Bruins fans dislike him. I totally get it.
Yeah, but I know.
Alfie gets it, too. Don't worry. He understands.
He did his job, and they'd love him if he was on their team. That's the type of player he
I'm
was.
not sure we had a player that worked harder in practice.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure we had a player that played every single game as hard as he did. And what people don't realize is he was not nearly as big as what he played.
Mm-hmm.
Not nearly as big a man as what everybody thought. Courage, just courage, sheer courage.
When he came over, was he that way, or is that something that kind of formed over the years?
He was always that way.
He
was. It's interesting because he was like a cult icon there. He was on the cover of so many different magazines. He's a real good looking guy.
Mm-hmm.
And he was young and he played really well as a young guy. And he was on the cover of a lot of magazines, on a lot of TV shows. He was a cult figure even before he got to the NHL. He was a real popular guy in Sweden, really popular.
Yeah. So we'll see that. And I think the other thing too is you're going to need a big save in the beginning from Skinner.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
No, I think both teams though, because Bobrovsky going to get back on the horse here, Jimmy.
That's right. I mean, he hasn't
back on the horse. I mean, you know, people. I'm not one that's buying into his confidence has been, shattered. I don't believe that. Not at his age. Not
at his age, and everything he's been through too, the experiences he had.
Yeah. So but what he does have to do, he needs to get back on the horse.
Yeah, and nothing does that better than a nice big save.
Get back in there and make a save.
Yeah. Okay, so here's the other thing too, and I don't know, if you've been in this situation. So you're facing elimination, you're on the road, and you give up the first goal. How hard is it to overcome that?
As you talk, I'm thinking about it. So go ahead.
How hard is that to overcome when you're the away team facing elimination if you give up that first goal?
That's not happened to any team I've been with, but I've seen it in broadcast, a lot of them where it has happened. No, that's a tough formula.
Yeah.
Really tough formula to bounce back from. Now, some of those years, the red line was in, so you could really trap it up and shut it down.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of those times with the red line out and the rule changes, the way the game was called, that allowed for more comebacks. So it changed after 05, 06. It really did. It changed.
Yep. And by the way, and our producers just reminded me to tell everyone here, good news, Pierre. I don't know if you saw the text earlier. We have the legendary Hall of Fame writer, Michael Farber, joining us tomorrow here on the Eye Test on the Sick Podcast Network. Pierre, I know you've worked with Michael. You've known him for a long time. Just talk to the listeners, maybe for our younger listeners and viewers that don't really know about Michael Farber. One
of the most distinguished people you'll ever meet in the media business. Amazingly eloquent, amazingly well written. Takes complicated things and makes them entertaining. And loyal as a day is long, and a phenomenal human being. One of the things I missed when I moved out of Montreal to move to Connecticut was not seeing Michael as much as I used to. When I was in Montreal, my wife and I always used to have a dinner party for a lot of our friends, and Michael and Danielle, his wife, used to come a lot. And I spent pretty good time with Michael. I really enjoyed. I learned, one of those guys. You ask a question, you let him answer it.
Oh yeah,
and listen to it. Listen to his answer, because it's probably not anything you would have thought of before. And when I was asked to be part of the Hockey Hall of Fame selection committee, I used to sit right next to Michael in the room.
Wow.
And, the first year, I didn't say boo. I was so intimidated. I didn't say boo. I'm the rookie. I'm not saying anything. I'm just listening. And I learned a lot from sitting there and listening and watching. So, yeah, Michael's amazing. He's an amazing guy.
Yeah. I remember the first time I met him was at the Bell Center. And the same thing. I was just, you have those moments, even though you're pro and you're old, or you still can have those moments when you meet somebody that's a legend in your business. And I almost froze, but I got the words out, introduced myself, and he couldn't have been kinder. And he said, yeah, I've heard you on with Mitch Melnick. You do a great job. I've read some of your stuff and I really enjoy it. And if you ever need some advice. And so then, I bump into him here and there. And yeah, he would just give such great advice. And just having a guy like that say that he'd read my stuff. I mean, that's right there. That's an accomplishment to me. So
you're damn right. Good for you for acknowledging that, Jimmy. The first time I met Michael Farber, I was a quarterback at Bergen Catholic High School in Oradell, New Jersey.
Oh, wow.
And he was writing for the Bergen Record. Yeah.
That's right. I was going to ask you, because he spent time. So did he live in New Jersey or was it Long Island?
He is actually born and raised in Bayonne, New Jersey.
Okay.
The home of Chuck Wepner, the Bayonne Bleeder. And so Mike went to Rutgers University.
Mm-hmm.
Went to prep school in New England. I think he went to St. George's in Newport, Rhode Island.
Yep.
Pretty sure Michael went to prep school up in New England. And but he definitely went to Rutgers. He definitely did.
Yeah, I've heard him talk.
I remember I was the quarterback at Bergen Catholic and doing an interview with Michael a long time.
Wow, that's cool.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. He brought it up to me too, and I said, "Don't worry, I remember." I'm not going to forget that.
And for our listeners and viewers don't know, Pierre, you wrote a column at Sports Illustrated. Was he there at Sports Illustrated when you were there as well?
I wrote that column for 15 years.
Yeah.
15 years, yeah.
Pretty amazing.
It was fun.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Well, we will talk to him maybe about another Stanley Cup or the first Stanley Cup for the Florida Panthers, but the Stanley Cup being raised tonight, or we'll talk about a Game 6. We'll also get into some hockey history with Michael Farber. I'm looking forward to that. Pierre, on the Florida side, of course, they admitted it the other day. We discussed this yesterday. They admitted that seeing their families and their loved ones coming out to Edmonton, and it kind of made them realize how real it was and what this moment was. And maybe the weight of that kind of froze them a bit. Now that they're through that once, it shouldn't freeze them again, right?
No, the difference now is they're home. Their fans are there. They're in their own dressing room. They don't have to listen to any outside noise.
Yep.
You just go do your procedure, whatever your day of the game procedure is, you go do it and be ready to play. Scotty used to tell the guys all the time, now the game started at 8 now. Back then it was either 7 or 7:30. And he always said one thing, it's 7 to 10 or 7:30 to 10:30. That's all I need you. I need you from 7 to 10 or 7:30 to 10:30. So you just be ready. And it worked. And I think the guys in Florida will be ready. That's not to say Edmonton can't win, because it can. I just think this one's a lot harder for them to win than what
you're going to see a more focused, more zeroed in Florida team. And then, I want to talk about some other hockey topics. So this will be my final one for the game tonight. And feel free to keep talking about it if you want, Pierre. But Paul Maurice, he's been around for so long, been through a lot to get to this point, and he has a chance to win his first Stanley Cup. What do you think he's feeling right now, Pierre?
Hopefully for him, you focus on the job.
Yeah.
The job is to make sure you get the right matchups. The job is to make sure every I has been dotted, every T has been crossed, and you're ready to play.
Mm-hmm.
And then you can allow yourself, and I can only speak to this from my experience, you can allow yourself, if you have a little bit of wiggle room, to let your guard down maybe in the last minute.
If it's like 4-1 or something.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Before that, no, I can tell you in 91, we were up, I think 6-0 going into the third period. It might have been 5, but I'm pretty sure it was 6.
Okay.
You couldn't let your guard down.
How hard is that?
All it takes one high stick, a double minor, and they score 2 goals or 3 goals, whatever it is. Or something crazy happens and they score from center ice.
Yeah.
You never take it for granted. But once you get to like the last 2 minutes, you got a substantial lead. You can kind of then let the air out of the tire a little bit.
Yeah.
But before that, you're probably plugged in. I know that's how we were.
What were you like? I'm sure you remember the moment, the when you realized you had just won the Stanley Cup for the first time. That commercial. I wish they still did it. They had this commercial where they would just show a player being interviewed and they'd say, "How are you feeling?" and they can't get the words out, or they're bawling. What was it like for you when you first won it?
Just stood with Gilles Malache. I'll never forget being with Gilles and how emotional Gilles was. Gilles had spent so much time as a player and as a coach in the Penguins organization, and he's originally drafted by Chicago. He got picked up by Oakland Seals, ended up in Minnesota, and then found his way into Pittsburgh. And just being with Gilles and having worked with him the entire year, and just to see how emotional he was. Like, I was a young guy still.
Yeah.
But seeing Gilles, he was crying, made me cry. You're there and you're looking at what the players went through. You see what the coaches went through, the trainers, everybody's sacrificing.
Sorry about that.
The special players we had so many special guys. I think about the role players we had. Randy Gillen was unbelievable on faceoffs. Troy Loney was as tough as there was, great penalty killer. Phil Bork, our friend, the old 2-9er.
Yeah.
Amazing. I just think about Jake Caulfield and how tough he was, and all those role players, their names in the cup, but they never got enough acclaim. Those guys I think about those guys a lot. I really do.
See, I love that answer, Pierre, because instead of thinking about you were thinking about others there. And that says a lot.
Oh, yeah. No, I think you have to. I will tell you this. I got on the plane with Scotty Young and his wife at the time, Mary, and we had a couple of adult beverages. It was pretty fun. And, I remember telling them that, I had watched them play at St. Mark's and watched them play at BU, and obviously watched them play for the Hartford Whalers, where it was their first-round pick. But we ended up talking just about New England prep school hockey on the plane ride coming back. We didn't even talk about the Stanley Cup. Then we got to Barasso's house. I mean, you get to Tommy's house and everybody's there. Then you can start to unwind a little,
Was this all still the same night?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, wow.
That was the night we lost the cup in Tommy's backyard.
We'll leave it at that.
I you know what? I would usually take blame for that, but I was not the guilty party.
Now, were Sally and your dad, were they able to be there?
No. My parents, they watched all the games on TV. They didn't come, but my dad actually came to the 92 parade, which was really cool. That's where Brian was in the football stadium at the time in Pittsburgh, Three River Stadium.
Oh, the old one, yeah.
And that's where Brian started running the bases and sliding. It was pretty funny. Again, I'm not going to couch it. Trotz meant so much to that team, and that was his way of letting it out. That was Brian's way of letting it out.
Yeah, and by the way, you were bringing him up in the beginning of the playoffs, Pierre, talking about Brian Trottier and what he meant to that team, and just kind of saying that certain players should emulate him. And the more the playoffs have gone on, the more people are talking about him, Pierre. I hear it almost every game. Somebody, announcer and an analyst, will say it.
Well, I think part of it is because of Barkov.
Mm-hmm.
Just how good Barkov is. And if a team like Edmonton, I'm not saying they're going to lose, but I can tell you one thing. We wouldn't be at 3-1 in this series if Trotz was playing on Edmonton's team.
Yeah.
But not.
It doesn't happen.
It'd be tight.
Right.
I'm just telling you, it'd be tight. It'd probably be 2-2.
Yeah.
I'm just telling you. He was amazing, man. I'm telling you. I have so much time for Brian and so much respect for him. I every time I get a chance to spend time with him, I really appreciate it.
And those Islanders teams too. I mean, I remember the quote, Pierre, and Gretzky brought up Trottier last week. For those that didn't know, just praising him, saying that Barkov's the best offensive player since him. But was it Gretzky too that had that comment before the Oilers finally snapped the Islanders dynasty? And he said he was walking by their dressing room and saw all the ice bags and everything, and then it dawned on him what needs to happen to actually get to that point. Was it him?
Yes, it was.
Okay.
So that's why our 91 team didn't have to go through the pain of losing like Florida has.
Mm-hmm.
Edmonton may have. We will see. Tampa had gone through the pain of losing, especially in 2015 to Chicago. So a lot of those guys had gone through that. We didn't have to because we had Brian Trottier. Think about it.
Yeah.
We had Gordy Roberts, and we had Joey Mullen.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, those three, and Kevin Stevens, who I know listens to this show all the time, would tell you those three guys mattered a lot.
Oh, yeah.
Obviously we had great players like Kevin and Mark in 91 and Mario and Ronnie and, lots of really Paul Coffey, lots of really special. But those veteran guys that had been to the final and or had won, they make a difference.
Yeah. Well, they totally do. I mean, Pierre, I bet if we went through every Stanley Cup winning roster in the last 15 years, even now, you're not going to find many that don't have at least 2 to 3 guys that have won a Stanley Cup, because
or been to the final.
Into the final, just to have that experience.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
You can't have enough of that. Like even right now, Pierre, and we'll talk about there's some good news items today around the league. Barclay Goodrow has been waived by the New York Rangers. Now, you and I had chatted over the weekend. We saw Larry Brooks suggesting that they might be buying him out or they could trade him. Just a cap casualty. It is what it is. It's nothing against him, but and I just kind of going back and forth with Bruins fans on Twitter. Not that I'm putting Goodrow in the category of a Brian Trottier or any of those guys we just mentioned, but he does have 2 cup rings, And
wait a second, I would definitely. He's a guy that you need to have to win.
Yeah.
He makes a difference because he's got the street cred of having walked the ball.
That's what I'm saying.
He's gone through the fireball. He's had tasted. He's tasted. He knows. I'm a big fan. And plus, you got to think about Barkley. Never drafted player.
Yep.
Every day he goes to
his tail off.
He has to work because he needs to prove people wrong. It's a badge of honor that he carries with him every single day.
Yeah. So I'm looking at it. I said to you just before we were coming on, do you think anyone grabs them on waves? And you said, they might. They might.
Somebody might. Now, here's the thing. There's 3 years left on that deal.
Yeah.
It's a little over $3 million.
And he's what, 31? Let's check.
Yeah, it's 31 or 32. But I think there's a fifth. Jimmy, you'd have to look this up. I think he's got a 15-team no trade. I think he's got a 15-team no trade. So if you take him,
Right.
It's like when you go into a fine china shop. You break the china, you keep it. You
Yep.
buy it. So it's kind of the same deal here.
Yeah, he's got 3 years left at 3.6.
Okay.
So yeah, I get it. For say as this deal goes on, he's down to the fourth line. That it is kind of a high cap hit for a fourth line guy, but at the same time, like we just said, what he brings in terms of experience and knowledge and what he can give to the younger kids, I think is invaluable.
I'll ask you this.
Yeah.
So who was close in the West that thinks they can take another step? Vancouver?
Mm-hmm. Vancouver. He knows the West. He's been in San Jose. Vancouver. How about LA? They've been knocking for a bit and they haven't been able to get over the hump,
Right. I don't think Vegas can afford him.
Who knows? If those guys find another way to land somebody big, man, they are the cap maestros. I'll tell you that.
I'm only asking the question because I do think character matters.
It does.
What happens if Macklin Celebrini turns pro after the draft?
Mm-hmm.
And you've already got Will Smith there. You don't think they know him in San Jose well enough to say this is a guy that can really shepherd these kids?
Mentor. Yeah.
He'd be a mentor for them.
Yep.
I think he'd be an amazing mentor.
Yeah. Well, I look, Pierre, one team that came to my mind, and Berube and Trey Living, what they were preaching in their press conference last month.
Yep.
He could be a good addition for them if they had the cap space, if they figured it out.
Yeah, that's the issue they got to deal with. I don't know if Yuma could be onto something there, but I don't know if anything gets done in Toronto till after they figure out Marner.
Mm. Yeah, Darren Drager was saying today, like his gut right now, based on what he's heard and people he's spoken to, he said his gut is that he's going to extend there.
Well, I wouldn't be surprised. I would not be surprised.
Yeah.
But so if that happens, then I think it's highly unlikely that Goodrow can go.
Yeah, and they gotta figure out a way to add to their D too.
Well, they got a goal decision to make and a D decision to make.
Yeah.
That's why I think if they figure Marner's staying, then I think they got a bit of an issue.
Yeah, for sure. And then another interesting one, Pierre. Today, Utah Hockey Club, because they don't have a name yet, has named Chris Armstrong president of hockey operations. And Chris Armstrong kind of taking the Bill Zito route. He was with Wasserman, working that's a player agency there. He was the executive vice president of talent, innovation, and strategic development. What can you tell us about Chris Armstrong, Pierre?
I think he's made most of his chops in golf, actually, not so much in hockey. So, obviously a powerful negotiator and a smart brand manager. But I don't know the person at all. Just going by what I've been told and what I've read. But from what I understand, most of his upper echelon experience is in the golf world, which is not a bad thing. That's a worldwide entity. I don't think he'll be making a lot of hockey decisions. I think it's more about brand decisions and organizational decisions. You're moving one franchise to a whole other city,
Exactly.
different state. There's a lot that goes into that.
You got to establish yourself.
And there's a lot that goes into that.
Oh yeah.
I don't think it's a bad hire. I think it's a good hire, actually. So,
if you're thinking of getting into hockey management or marketing, and your name's Armstrong, go check out Utah. They like that name, right?
Yeah.
Billy Archer. And then Pierre, the other topic I wanted to bring up with you, word going around right now that, there's some speculation that Jeff Skinner could be bought out in Buffalo. Does that surprise you?
I read that today. They must think they've got other people coming that fit in better with what their new coaching staff wants.
Yeah, that's about it, huh?
Yeah, I would say. I can't think. I don't see more to that. And so I think they've prioritized some people. Don't forget, they got to make the Paterka's really coming on, Jimmy, and Quinn was hurt most of last year. And I don't think they want to take ice time away from those two kids. And I think they don't see Skinner as a depth player. I think they see him as a scoring player.
Right.
So I just think there's some different things there. And, with a new coach, a new assistant, I think it's a different deal there in Buffalo.
And so if he gets bought out, he becomes a UFA. He could help a team that's needs some depth scoring. I think he's still
serviceable. Presence. You need a little scoring. He's been at it a long time now. It's not like he's just starting.
Right.
My son and I had a lot of time at the dentist's office today. We were talking about Skinner because one of Ryan's first All-Star games was down in Raleigh, and that's when Skinner was just like this.
Oh, wow.
The new guy on the block.
Yeah.
He was the young swagger guy and that everybody loved down there in Carolina. We were talking about him today when it became apparent that there was an opportunity that they might buy him out.
Right. All right. Well, listen, let's get to the questions here, Pierre. Excited. I see some good ones over there as well. But before we do, I want to tell everybody about our other sponsor that we're proud to have here on the eye test. TCS Customs and Logistics. Unlock the full potential of your shipping operation with TCS Customs and Logistics. From around the corner to around the world, flatbeds to air freight, customs clearance to drawback consulting. TCS is a one-stop shop for all things transport, moving pieces and delivering a peace of mind. For a no-obligation customs or freight quote, contact sickpodcast@shiptcs.com. Again, that is sickpodcast@shiptcs.com. All right, let's go to questions here on a Tuesday before Game 5 of the Stanley Cup Final, with potential of the Stanley Cup being raised tonight. NDGPJ asks, with the recent signing of possible top 6 right-hand scoring center wing Oliver Kapanen, could this mean the Habs' needs at a draft could change from 2 scoring forwards to 1?
No.
I don't think so either.
No, and it's a good question. I do. Yeah. I think it's a really good question. I don't think so. They've got huge depth on defense. They've got very good structure and goal, especially with Jacob Fowler at Boston College. So I'd say no.
Yeah,
I don't think so.
All right, next question. Canadians, Pierre, how much focus do general managers put on draft time smoke screens? Lots of strategic leaks to sway the others. That's true.
It is true. Most of the time, it's not so much a GM. They're planning sessions because you have most of the year to plan. But some guys utilize their assistant GMs or the directors of player personnel or even their amateur scouts to do that. But it's not nearly as convoluted as it used to be just because the internet's changed a lot of this, Jimmy, as you know. So it's not nearly as convoluted.
Mm-hmm. Okay, next question. What do we got? Kook69. My opinion only, but as much as many think Montreal will pick a forward, I still think they could pick the best offensive D-man available. Say Dickinson, Patrick. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. Or Seneke. I don't know. I think they kind of have some of those guys coming, Pierre, like you just said,
Yeah, I wouldn't be afraid to look at a centerman if I were Montreal.
Yep. I agree.
Wouldn't be afraid to look at a centerman.
I agree. All right. Got your message up here. All right. Next question. Randy Workman, Jimmy and Pierre, do you think the president of a hockey team needs to be a hockey man? That's a great question after what we were just discussing.
No, because it's different. It's all different. So sometimes they're the president. Like I'll give you an example. John Davidson's a really good hockey man. But John Davidson was there for a lot of reasons, whether he was in St. Louis, whether he was in Columbus, whether he was in New York, whether he was in Columbus. And he had 2 stays in Columbus.
Yep.
I worked with John. John's a really talented person. So John wasn't the guy that was on the road all the time going out amateur scouting. John was staying with the team, making sure the team was viable in the city, selling the team online, in commercials, selling it on air, selling it through interviews, speaking at events. You have that. And then you've got other guys that are president of hockey. They run the hockey.
Right. Like a Jeff Jackson, right?
Yeah. So there's a perfect example. I'm glad you brought it.
Mm-hmm.
I think Shanahan has tried to do that in Toronto.
Mm-hmm.
I think he has. I think his job title has changed over time.
Right.
So every place is different. It really is. I don't think you need to be a hockey man to do the job.
Yeah.
I think it helps if you're versed in it.
Yeah.
I do.
Yeah.
But I don't think you need to be.
It's a good question, though, for sure. And Pierre, by the way, you mentioned Columbus there, and I forgot to bring it up in our news topics there. Pascal Vincent, and Pierre, we text each other right away.
Yeah.
And, I'll be blunt. I'll say, I don't like that move. I feel really, and maybe it's because I have so much respect for the gentleman, but that's tough. I just feel like he wasn't given enough of a chance.
There are a lot of guys that aren't given enough.
I know. Nobody's going to cry for him. I get it.
It's not a fair business. It's okay. My hope is that somebody recognizes that he's extremely talented and they give him an opportunity to go be a number one assistant, or again, turn over their American League team to him and let him go run it.
Yeah.
Because he's really competent, and then he'll get another chance. Or maybe he says, you know what, I'm tired of getting kicked around so much. I'm going to go back to the Quebec League, or I'm going to go to the Ontario Hockey League. I'm going to run a team. I'm going to have a stable job and a stable life for the next 15 years of my working life.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, I won't even pretend. I'm going to tell you right now. When my wife knows this, and I'll tell you exactly what I had this talk with my wife. When I got out of coaching, I got on the radio, and then I got on TV. And I told my wife, this is the last chance. I either go back coaching now, or I'm never going back.
Mm-hmm.
And she said to me, your choice. We've got a young daughter. We got something coming on the way. We weren't sure if it was a boy or a girl at the time, but we knew she was pregnant. And I said, you know what? I'm staying home. I'm gonna stay home. And eventually, I stayed home, but I wasn't really home because I was on the road all the time. But it's a different pressure. We didn't have to move every 2 or 3 years. We stayed in Montreal for 9. We were in Connecticut for 10, 18 years, and then your kids are gone. So we were fortunate. The children only had to move once. They were very, very fortunate.
People don't realize the life of an assistant coach.
I was
changed in a hurry.
Jimmy, I got offered an unbelievable job on the West Coast to go back coaching, like a really good job. And I didn't take it.
Yep. Yeah. But you know what? Good for you sticking around the game, though, Pierre. That's one thing that.
This is what I've always done.
Exactly. And by the way, quickly, anyone off the top of your head you could see maybe landing there?
I tried to think last night, and I was wondering, Jimmy, I know I don't want to say any of the established guys because I'm friends with almost all of them.
Right.
There's some that have way more pedigree than others, but they're all established. They've been head coaches in the league. I'm wondering if they don't pick up the phone and call Denver.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder if they don't see what David Carl's doing.
Mm-hmm.
I'm wondering if they don't pick up the phone and call UMass Amherst and see what Greg Carl's doing. They've got a young team there. I wonder if they don't hire a young coach that grows with the team and they give them a 5 to 7 year window. I'm not saying they're going to do that, but I wonder if they don't try to do that. I see what Donnie Waddell did with Rod Brindamore down in Carolina. Nobody knew if Brindamore was going to be a good coach or not. They knew he was a really good player, but nobody knew if he's going to be a good coach.
Yeah. Same with Marty St. Louis in Montreal.
Yeah, nobody knew.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, so they had player pedigree. I get that. Scotty Bowman never played a minute in the NHL. Ken Hitchcock never played a minute in the NHL.
Mm-hmm.
There are a lot of guys that didn't play in the NHL. Like
Greg Cronin.
Really, really good coaches. Greg Cronin never played a minute in the NHL.
Yeah.
They just named the coach out in San Jose, Ryan Warsofsky.
Yeah.
Never spent a minute in the NHL.
I know, huh? By the way, he was with the South Carolina Stingrays.
Yeah.
3 coaches now have come from that team in the last few years.
Well, they've been
pretty amazing.
So I'll tell you one thing. When I coached in Baton Rouge, it was part of St. Louis's organization at the time. South Carolina was really good. And Rick Vive, the former goal scorer for the Toronto Maple Leafs and the Buffalo Sabres, Rick Vive was the coach in South Carolina.
Okay.
Yeah.
So they've been a staple.
They've been a really good franchise for a long time. They deserve a lot of credit there.
Congratulations to him as well, to Warsofsky, a Marshfield, Mass kid.
Yeah.
So good on him.
All right. His brother played with Raymond Bork's son in the World Junior in 20.
I remember that.
In Saskatoon. We talked to Raymond about it last week.
Yeah. Small world. All right. Next question. The Puck Bunnies. Oh, hey, by the way, before I read and answer your question here, Puck Bunnies, thank you for sending that amazing song to help me pronounce Uka's name right. Pierre, I'll send it to you. It was classic. All right, here's the question from Puck Bunnies. Does Corey Perry bring up the fact he lost in the finals with so many teams lately, or does it go unmentioned?
Never bring it up.
Never. Yeah.
Focus on the positive. I won the cup in 2007. I won Olympic gold. I won World Junior gold. And I know all the times we won, we went in there and we were ready to play.
Yeah.
No, I'm paraphrasing because he might be saying other stuff, but I would never focus on the negative.
And you know what? Now I know I'm not comparing the first round to the Stanley Cup final. I'm just comparing the series score. He was on a team, Pierre. Did not the 2021 Montreal Canadiens go down 3-0 and come back on the Leafs?
Yeah.
He was on that team. So he's been in the locker room where they've had to rally from that deficit. Experience like that helps no matter what round it is, in my opinion.
Hats off. Totally agree, Jimmy. It's a good point by you. Really good.
All right, next question. Alex Evanowski, how much does the business of hockey get in the way of what's truly right for the team? Ticket sales and fear of being irrelevant over long-term success. That's why Montreal should be applauded.
I don't think anybody's not applauding Montreal in this show.
No, we love it.
You know,
we love what they're doing.
Business of hockey matters, though. It's a big business.
Mm-hmm.
Huge business. So just to put in perspective, when I got in the league, it was a $500 million a year business. There were 24 teams.
Mm-hmm.
Now there are 32 teams, and it's a $5.7 billion.
Yep.
Went from 500 million to 5.7 billion.
And look what the franchise costs now. It's insane.
All I can say is I'm not going to tell you the team, and I will not say the owner. But I was at the Board of Governors meeting 3 years ago or 2 years ago, and I remember Commissioner Bettman standing up and say, Jimmy, I'm not going to say the owner's name. Jimmy, would you stand up? Stand up. Congratulations. Your franchise has been valued at $1 billion.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. I will not tell you the price point that he bought it at.
Wow. That's pretty interesting.
Well,
tell me off the air. I want to know off the air.
The Montreal Canadiens, this is in the papers.
Yeah.
With the building and the air rights and the team and everything was 500 and something, 525, I think, 525 million.
Wow.
They bought it from George Gillette, and now it's worth almost $3 billion.
That's insane. That's amazing.
I mean, now you got to remember, the Molson family has been really good at this. They look at all the condos that are around there. They bought all those parking lots. They put up huge condos. Those are sold. They bought the air rights over the building. Eventually, that's going to be sold.
Yep.
Or built over.
Mm-hmm.
So you think about that. And then they created a company called EventCo. And EventCo is an amazingly successful company for concert promotion and all kinds of entertainment promotion that utilizes the Bell Center. So they've been really smart with it. You know, I give Jeff Molson and the people there a lot of credit. They've done a lot of really good things there.
And you know what I'm thinking of as we're discussing this too? Look at the job that Vegas did in such a short time. Bill Foley and his crew that he put together, establishing a hockey franchise in a city that Pierre that had never had a pro sports franchise, let alone hockey.
Yeah, you know what? Well, some people would debate on that, Jimmy. They say the UNLV Running Rebs were a pro team. That's another debate for another day.
We'll talk about that another day.
Arcanian and the boys there with the Running Rebels. Yeah. But no, Mr. Foley did an amazing job. One of the really cool things I had a chance to do when we had the rights at NBC was sit down with a lot of different people. And one time I sat down with Mr. Foley, and I was asking about his vision for the Vegas Golden Knights. And his answers were great. Yeah. And he was really straightforward, like amazingly passionate and straightforward. He says, you know what I love to do besides hockey? I said, no idea. I own vineyards. I own vineyards. You told me that. Yeah, that's right. And he says, I got vineyards here and I got vineyards there. And I have a brand called the Foley family of wines. And it is special. If you're into wines, you'll enjoy the Foley family of wines. Their pedigree is amazing. He said, but most of my favorite vineyards, Pierre, they're in New Zealand. And okay. I wonder if I can weasel an invite to one of the vineyards.
He must like the Shiraz. That's their specialty. Good stuff. And by the way, I was corrected. They were down 3-1, the Habs to the Leafs. They didn't go down 3-0. They were down, but still a pretty amazing comeback. And that's where the Edmonton Oilers find themselves tonight. All right, next question. Jason Logan. What's up, Jay? Does a player ever waive their no trade clause to a team on their list that they don't want to go to just because they know they're not wanted, or they stay firm with the no trade team? I hope you understand the question. I do, Jason, and we saw that this year with the team I covered, the Boston Bruins. Linus Ullmark reportedly, we know by now, he did institute his no trade clause and vetoed a trade. So it happens.
It does happen.
It does.
It does happen.
But that's an interesting dynamic, though, Pierre. Like, I get where Jason's coming from that. I've had other fans ask about this. I've never really had this conversation on or off the record with a player. But, when you go back and you know that this team just tried to trade you, is awkward the word or what?
Yeah. Nothing, but that's not awkward compared to what arbitration used to be like.
Oh, yeah.
I'm
That's
just
Joe Juno.
Arbitration was really tough.
It still is.
Yeah, it's not
as bad, but I remember Jeremy Swayman came out of it last year and he's like, wow, that was harsh.
Yeah, arbitration used to be because they utilized witnesses rather than all the statistical stuff that they have now, and that was hard. I can tell you. I've been to a couple of those that weren't fun.
Do you remember good old Harry Sinden with Joe Juno?
Tell him to go yodel in the mountains. Hope you like Switzerland. Hope you like Switzerland and go yodel in the mountains.
Next question. Sinden was a beauty. Randy Workme still is. Jimmy and Pierre, with Lindstrom, there's a concern in injuries. Do you think this could be a concern with his future? You said this the other day.
I don't know. Obviously, I don't have these medical records in front of me, but I've heard a lot of talk about this, and I do think teams are concerned about it. Yes.
Yep. All right. Next question. Kook69. What's up there, brother? With Montreal acquiring Connor Hughes to shore up Laval, and with depth at that position with Fowler, Dobes, Volikin, is that how you pronounce it? Miller, etc. Is there a case that Hughes could supplant Primo?
I don't think so.
I don't think so either, but I'm glad he brought up Primo, Pierre.
I don't think so.
With Fowler on the way, and we don't know when he's going to arrive yet, obviously.
Okay, here's what I'll say about Fowler. And I could get it totally wrong, but this is just from my experience. Okay. Fowler comes out after his sophomore year.
Okay.
Fowler spends one full year in the American Hockey League.
Mm-hmm.
Fowler goes and plays in Montreal after that. So that's next year, this coming season, the year after, and the year after. So you're 3 years away.
Yep. But I wonder, with all that happening, what the future is for Primo in Montreal. I think he's still a good NHL goalie. I just wonder.
Is he a starting goalie in your eyes? I don't think he is.
No, I think he's a great serviceable backup.
I think he's a really good organization guy.
1B. Yeah.
He's not – when Fowler comes out, it's not to be the backup.
No, exactly. And I think Montembeault, well, it depends on the cap hit and all. We'll see what happens. But there are some interesting goalie situations coming with that team.
Got next year and the year after, I believe, right?
Yep.
And then I think he's done. So
we'll see. All right, next question. Naz26. Why didn't Barry Smith ever get a chance as a head coach in the NHL?
Because people saw him as being mostly a Scotty guy, and that he did a lot. By the way, nobody won more Stanley Cups on a coaching staff in the 1990s than Barry Smith.
Yeah, it's amazing.
And it was an amazing honor to work with him, and we talk a fair bit to this day. But I think a lot of people just saw him as Scotty's guy that went from Buffalo to Pittsburgh to Detroit, and then that was basically it. So that's kind of why I think.
And by the way, Pierre, you wanted to go to New Zealand. Well, Jason Logan, our good New Zealand friend that's based in Montreal now, said we can go. We can stay at his mom's, and I'm welcome to come as well. We'll do eye test podcast there. All right, sounds good, Jay. We'll make the plan for next year. All right, next question. Fongway Reldman, what an avatar. The Stars are pretty close this season. Where do they go from here? That's a good question.
They've got some decisions to make.
They do. But I think they got – I don't think their window's closed just yet, Pierre.
No, okay, so Maverick – let's just say Maverick Boric comes in and replaces, for the sake of argument, Pavelski.
Right.
He won't. Not
in terms – I get you.
But let's just say, so there's one question you don't have to answer.
Mm-hmm.
But they have other ones. There's some other questions.
Defense.
Yep.
Because if Tanev hits the open market, I know they want to keep him, but they might not be able to. If he hits the open market, they got to fill that void again.
One thing about Tanev, though, that's solid for them, Texas, no tax.
Mm-hmm.
No Canadian teams want to try to sign him, especially where it used to be, Vancouver. But it comes down to a dollar and cents thing. He's 35 years old.
Yep.
How much are you going to get in your pocket? So that's kind of where this is his last contract.
Oh, yeah, for sure. All right, next question. Kook69. Question. With struggling third liners, Armia and Anderson, would you replace them with Anthony Beauvillier in a trade?
I personally would not.
Me neither. Yeah. Where did Anthony finish this? I'm having a brain cramp. Where did he finish the season this year, Pierre?
He was in Vancouver. I think
he
ended in Chicago. He might have ended in Chicago.
He ended in Chicago. That's right. At the end of the year. All right. Next question. F or 4F, we call them. Hypothetical question. If the NHL Finals were held on a European surface, which team would be favored to win? It's a great, interesting question.
Probably Edmonton.
I'd say Edmonton, too. It suits them way better, for sure.
You know, the biggest misnomer about big ice hockey is that it leads to a lot of goals. That's
not true.
The reason why the trap was created, because of them.
Yep.
That's how you defend. It's like soccer. You keep everything to the outside.
Yep. I remember that from my boys on the Ice Guys, the betting cast that they do. They told me that. They said, always in the Olympics, if it's over in Europe and it's a big surface, Jimmy, bet the under. Because it's way more low scoring than people think. And the over-under is going to be set at like 6.5 or 7. It's a myth. All right, next question. NDGPJ. In trades, it is not who you want to trade, but who your trade partner wants. Are Struble and Angstrom most valuable chips in a trade for the Canadians?
Well, I think they're valuable, but I think there are other guys that have more value.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't know if Montreal wants to trade them.
Right. Yeah. I'm not sure. We'll see. But I think just my hunch. I mean, it makes sense that they're going to use one of those defensemen to bulk up front. All right. Next question. Chris Blue Shirts. Hey guys, as a Rangers fans, I don't like what they did today, placing Goody on waivers. They need more guys like that in their roster. Your thoughts? Let's go Rangers. Chris, great minds think alike. Pierre and I said the same thing to each other. We said, this is a team that's still trying to get over that hump. They've been knocking on the door. Why would you get rid of playoff experience and size and grit like that? I mean, that's exactly what we said.
We agree.
Yeah, for sure. We agree, Chris. Next question. Marvin Matthews. Gentlemen, what is your favorite sports-themed book?
I got a lot, but I'll take North Dallas 40.
Oh, I've never read that.
Peter Gent.
Okay.
The pro football player. North Dallas 40. Being a movie, but it was a good book, too. It was a really good book.
Yeah, The Game. Got to be that.
See, The Game's a good story because it's about the game, but I was more entertained reading Dallas 40.
There's a book, and I forget the name. I never read it, but a couple people suggested it to me, Pierre, just talking about fun books. And it was about a bank robber. It's a true story. A bank robber who's also a hockey player in Hungary. It's like Whiskey Devil or something, or Whiskey Robber. I'll find out for you. It sounded like a hell of a story. And it's like, that's a movie waiting to happen. I'm surprised.
And they say it's a true story?
Yeah. I'll figure it out. My buddy Kevin Greenstein told me about it way back. I'll look into it. All right, we got no more questions there. And again, we want to remind everyone, Michael Farber, you don't want to miss this, 4:15 tomorrow. Will join us at 4, as you always do, but he will be on at 4:15 tomorrow. Really looking forward to that. But before we let you go, I've got some picks for you folks, because this is when we do our Betway picks, or sick picks is what we call them here.
It's time for Sick Picks, brought to you by Betway.
All right. I'm going to keep it short and simple. The Edmonton Oilers are going to force a Game 6. Edmonton Oilers money line is my pick. There it is. Now you know what to do when I make a pick, right?
The other way.
A little wink. The reverse jinx. All right, here you go.
Jimmy, don't mention the name, but one of my former players has gotten back to me, and he's in transit right now, but I will be texting with him as soon as we're off the show, and that would be an amazing guest.
Yes. So we won't say who it is, but I do know. But I can confirm Pierre's right. If we get this guest, you're going to want to join us for that one for sure. Also, everybody, reminder, Pierre, Friday, we're 10:30?
10:30 Friday, yeah.
10:30, we're doing a recording at 10:30. So if you want to join us for a late breakfast or coffee, as you get ready for your weekend, you can find us here at 10:30 a.m. Eastern on Friday. All right. Thanks to our production crew. Thanks to Mr. Pierre McGuire right there. Pierre, some great stories early on there. I like that, talking about the cup experience.
Well, the cup is special, Jimmy. I don't wear them now, but my wife used to ask me all the time, why do you wear your Stanley Cup ring when you go out, like one or the other? Why do you wear it? And I said, because people want to see it. And then when they see it, they want to ask questions about it. And then they can feel their passion for the game.
Yep.
It's an amazing thing.
Remember the look on people's faces at Hurley's when we broadcast there?
Cool, right? That was pretty cool.
Remember Jason Logan looking at it? Penguins fan?
Jason was good. Jason was fun.
Yep.
I'd like to go to New Zealand with Jason.
Yep.
That'd be good.
All right.
We got to worry about Ireland first, Jimmy, for the Friendship Four.
Oh, that's right. That'll be something. We'll talk more about that another time. And finally, as I've been telling you, we are going to be at the NHL draft in Vegas. Check out this right here. All the big time Sick podcasts will be there, giving you wall-to-wall NHL draft coverage. You'll have the Sick podcast with Tony Marinaro. You'll have the Sick podcast recruits draftcast. And, of course, you'll have the eye test with Pierre and me. We will be in Vegas for that. Really looking forward to that. Taking off a week from tomorrow. We'll probably have some day recordings next week, too, as the production crew will travel a week from today out to Vegas and some of the other hosts there. And then I will be traveling on Wednesday. So we'll figure that out and we will keep you posted. But definitely, once I have the location for all that, I will let you know. We're working on that feverishly right now. Hope to secure it by tomorrow. So I'll let you know if you're in a draft, you can come out and say hi to us. I would really love that. We love meeting you guys. Thanks for all your questions. For Pierre McGuire, I'm Jimmy Murphy. This has been another edition of the Eye Test on the Sick Podcast Network.
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the Eye Test with Pierre McGuire and Jimmy Murphy on YouTube, Facebook, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts. Brought to you by TCS Customs and Logistics. Moving pieces, delivering peace of mind.